The smiles on my face. So anyway, that was our president when he was campaigning in the 2016 elections, and then talking about, you know, the cedi to the dollar as well. Anyway, we'll be having a lot of conversations this morning, and we just wanted to do this throwback and look at where we are and where we've come from and where we are currently as a nation. It's Friday. We'll just do a quick review into some of the happenings in the country over the week. And this morning, I'm honored to have Honorable Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. He's MP for Tamale Central as my guest this morning. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, we can't complain.
Would you be riding a donkey soon as well?
Maybe perhaps a bicycle.
A bicycle would do to start off. Let me roll us back. In watching this video, for example, it brings a question to mind that is it easy managing government affairs?
Well, let me say good morning to you and good morning to your cherished viewers and of course the good people of Tamale Central. It has never been easy managing anything. Even in our homes, it's not easy managing our homes. If you have even just a wife and a kid, it is not easy managing it. And it was particularly instructive that you had someone who had been in government before. Of course, he was a minister under President Akufo-Addo's administration, who ought to have known that even at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, two ministries he served, he performed abysmally, and the evidences are there. It is very clear that as a Minister for Justice, we saw what happened when there were a lot of disastrous cases that border on his professionalism. If you remember the letter he wrote, it was Chacho against the president. You know, I mean, clearly this is a basic mistake. Even a law student wouldn't make this someone who was touted as the dawn of the legal system in this country. Yet he made those basic mistakes. And I remember when we raised issues, he said that, oh, his communicator said that he didn't write the letter, but he signed. So clearly, if granted that he never wrote the letter, so he didn't read before signing, or he read and never comprehended what he did. So his record, the verdict at the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General was a disaster, and everybody knows that he lost several cases he even supervised. When he went to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we witnessed the fact that drug dealers were given diplomatic passports, which was very clear. Some of them were convicted, and it was reported they had diplomatic passports. And there were a lot of diplomatic passports which could not be accounted for. So he ought to have known, that managing even a ministry was difficult. But clearly what he did, and I always, you know, quote Cicero, that politics was a country idiot. And Cicero certainly could not have been wrong when he said in the several centuries ago that politics was a country idiot, that people focus on one thing without looking at the effects of others, of what they do. So maybe perhaps one would give him some credit because he was doing politics. The sad aspects of it is that in this country, when you speak English in a funny way, people tend to listen to you. When you try to slang, people tend to listen to you. When you come with three
feel the accent of the president what bought the people's interest? Those
things matter. I have been a student leader throughout my life, and I always say that I'm the longest serving student leader in this country, from SRC NUCS to All Africa Students Union. If you observe the elections in our various campuses, many people tend to vote for those who speak very well. Either they try to desperately manage a slang, or those who look cute, like you, when you contest elections. People
the former president is a very good orator. I mean,
well, it is not just it's not just being an orator, but being a responsible orator. Juxtaposed the campaign President Mohammed did and the campaign he did. President Mohammed was not just focused on just winning an elections, but he was mindful of the promises he was going to make, and knowing very well that he will be held accountable for those promises. As a Muslim, and in the Quran, Allah is very clear that when two people enter into an agreement, or you make a promise to someone, Allah says that He is the witness of that agreement. So politicians should understand that when you stand on the political platform, you make promises. You should be mindful and be reminded that you account for it. And I remember when I was contesting elections, I was very careful the promises I make, and some of my campaign team were not happy. You need to also say things to convince people. I said, no. You see, there is a British politician, I've forgotten the name, who had written a thesis, and his position is that voters don't vote deliveries, they vote promises. That's what voters vote. They vote promises you make. If they are so appetizing, they'll go for it. They don't care what you have done. I mean, everybody in this country, one of the reasons why the NDC lost elections in 2016 was because of the allegations of corruption against the entirety of the NDC government, and specifically President Mohammed.
Had the opportunity to also have defended itself.
Well, we did. You see, that's why I'm saying that when you have the lies, I mean, without a scintilla of evidence, and most of the lies were championed by you, the media, clearly, I mean, a lot of the things they said. One, they said President Mohammed built hotels in Dubai. They said President Mohammed had luxurious, as we sit today. Not a scintilla of evidence. Yet people believed. I'll give you a classical example, which was instructive. The current Minister for Agric, who is by no doubt one of the most corrupt ministers under this administration, they had a press conference in Parliament, and they accused Dr. Opuni.
Is there any proof to this with regards to when you say that
but he's corrupt? I mean, look, we were all in this country when they came with planting for food and jobs. And the minister said that they spent about almost 6 million Ghana cedis for publicity. No evidence of any radio station or TV station running adverts on it. No evidence of any paper running. Look, I'll tell you something in the course of this. What they have done under his watch. I mean, the evidences are abound. But I'm saying that he addressed the press conference and accused Opuni for squandering $400 million.
That issue.
I'm coming.
Issue is
no, that's not what I'm mindful. $400 million that he squandered cocoa board money. $400 million. So the expectation of many people was that if Opuni is being prosecuted today, the $400 million should be the basis for the prosecution. It's not anywhere found in the prosecution, nowhere. So what has happened to that $400 million? A lot of allegations were made. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people were not corrupt, of course, and I have maintained that some politicians are fantastically corrupt, just like some of you in the media. But
well,
no, it's true.
Not in our organization.
Oh, why? You want me to start mentioning names and they will blame you? I'm saying that
not in our organization. We are very.
But we are where journalists were sent to Peduase Lodge in the matter of Ajapa and Gilema. We know journalists who have suddenly built houses within 4 years of MPP's administration without any known business. I mean, it is very clear. Afro-Barometer has identified the media also to be corrupt, identified the judiciary to be corrupt, just like the politicians. You people in the media, one thing to observe, anytime you talk about corruption and you make reference to the media, you get jittery and you want to defend. Let's admit, I'm a politician. If you say, I mean, every day you people tell us how corrupt we are. I will admit that, yes, some politicians are not only corrupt, but they are fantastically corrupt, just like some media men in this country.
Well,
we live in a country.
I'll stay away from.
No, but we live in a country where you find someone hosting a program, 1 hour, 2 hour program, and lives in the most expensive areas in Accra, drive the most expensive vehicle in Accra. People don't ask where they got them. If I come here, I came here with 2016 vehicle, a very old vehicle, you saw me. If I come here with the latest Benz, and tomorrow I come here with Range Rover, you begin to gossip where I got the money. Yet you have journalists who host 1 hour, 2 hours program, and they live in the most expensive areas in Accra. They drive the most expensive cars. Nobody questions how they got them.
It could be they had other side businesses.
So the politicians can have other side businesses. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. The point I'm making is
so let me bring us back to.
They made allegations. You sent me where I was going. They made allegations of corruption against President Mohammed, and they said all manner of things, as if running a government was just like playing ampe. That was what they made it appear. But the sad aspects of it is that this is someone who had been a minister, who had been in government before. And his performance, the verdict there, was a disaster. People believed him because he speaks English in a funny way. He slangs. He slangs.
But the people going to the ballot box is also based on performance of the government.
You see, in this country, there has never been a change of government without allegation of corruption playing a significant role, whether through the ballot or through the bullet. Even Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who was criminally, illegally, and justifiably overthrown by people who have been named after our airport, Kutuka, named after a criminal, someone who truncated a democratically elected government. Now, when he was overthrown, the allegations they made against Nkrumah was that he was corrupt. They made series of allegations. Nkrumah had a lot of money in foreign accounts. As a matter of fact, even the suit Nkrumah was wearing, he had it. It was embossed on his suit, property of Ghana. Nkrumah died without even a single room. But these allegations were there. Unfortunately, when the NLC, after they overthrew Nkrumah and then they organized a charade of elections and made Buzia the president, when Buzia was overthrown, Akufo used corruption as a justification for the overthrow of Buzia. What happened to Akufo? The AFRC, Achampong. Sorry, Achampong used corruption as a justification for the overthrow of the Buzia's administration. Now, Akufo also used corruption against Achampong. AFRC, Rawlings used corruption against, just look at it. Even when we come back to democratical elections, tell me, from 1992, every single elections we went into, from 1992, corruption featured. In fact, the most prominent. It's just like in America.
But that is the trend.
Yes, so I'm saying that, unfortunately, when those allegations are made, and these allegations are brought to bear openly by the media, many people would not try to find out whether those allegations are true or not. They will believe, and that determines how the voting goes. To be very honest with you, I mean, all the allegations they made against President Mahama in the 2016 election, tell me one. But people believed, and people were with the conviction that, oh, President Nana Addo is someone who can. Some of us knew that he won't perform. I said it even on Joy, that this man cannot perform because I have dealt with him as the Secretary General of the All Africa Students Union when he was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I've had several encounters with him. And I knew he could not perform. It is not about speaking English in a funny way. It is about delivering. And it is very clear. We are in a disaster. This country is on its knees.
But the president has been still committed to the promises that his government, mentioned free SHS. All these things are still ongoing. Doesn't it still speak well of the person in terms of the promise the person put out?
What he promised is what I describe as cartoon scenario reality. I mean, let's create the impression that this is what we are doing when natural fact it is not. By the way, I guess it's one of the topics we've been looking at. His own MPs are now asking us that government should scrap free SHS, should scrap NAPCO and others. But you see, as a student leader, and I remember even my days with Nooks and the SRC in Legon, the argument we always made was that, hey, the Constitution's Article 25, is it 25 Clause 1, this is the Constitution, the education should be progressively free. We're not moving ahead to say on conditions that government can afford. This was the line that we're arguing. Look, education to be free. I'm a trained teacher. And interestingly, I've had the opportunity to have taught at all levels of education, from primary school to the university. Now, we were consistent that no one was against free SHS. The NDC was not against free SHS. What we're telling this government is that it must not be introduced recklessly and haphazardly as we're experiencing. As a matter of fact, those who were not politicians, those who had expertise in education, warned this government against the rush into the implementation of the free SHS. These were the positions. But here we are. Look, in my constituency in Tamale Central, I had to organize free extra classes for kids because of this traffic light system of education. Red means stop, yellow means get ready, and then green means go. That traffic light system, where students are made to spend more time at home and spend fewer, days, or if you like, weeks on campus. I remember the syllabuses that they were supposed to have covered, they could not cover those syllabuses. And considering the economic conditions of the people in that part of the country, I had to organize free extra classes for these people to catch up. I monitored your station, your radio station, and callers indicated that they were spending more in organizing, paying for extra classes for their kids than they were not, than before we had the free SHS. Is that what we are looking for? How about those who cannot afford? So it means that their education certainly will be affected. Now, how can you expand education without the deeded structures? How can you so-called expand or grant free education when you don't have the facilities? As a matter of fact, the condition under which a student is taught goes for the teacher and the student. And it has a tremendous impact on developing the student holistically. Now, if you have students who still lie on their bellies at the basic level, I can tell you in Tamale, in the heart of Tamale Central, I went to donate some things for a school, and I was flabbergasted. The students were lying on their bellies in the heart of Tamale, and I said this on several radio stations.
So how long would it have taken us to get to the point of free SHS?
That was why President Mohammed came with, expanding infrastructure, the day senior highs, and about 46 were completed. You had the focus was to do about 100 and about 200. 46 was concluded. There were about 50-something were at different, 70-something were at different stages of completion. This government could have waited. I believe that if the focus was let's ensure within 1 to 2 years we finish all the structures, and then you implement free SHS. But the reason why they did that was that you have a president who is so concerned about satisfying his uncontrollable ego, even against the advice of some members of his government, that the time was not ripe for the implementation of the free SHS. No. So egoistic. I have to implement it. I'll implement it. So the point is that they could have. And I don't think the NDC said they were against free SHS. In fact, the Constitution itself says that education should be made progressively free. So for you to have it free, if, for example, you want to set up a radio station, then you have, what do you guys call it?
Yes, our antennas and
the antennas
transmitters. Yeah.
Can you just come and start?
Well, so
you will be looking at providing the structure.
So that means that we probably would have given ourselves another extra 8 to probably 12 years before free SHS would have been implemented.
No, not 8 to 12. In fact, even if it meant 10 years for it to be implemented so that we can achieve the quality, why not? But that's not the focus. If you look at
but people are benefited from free SHS.
Of course, and people are also affected from the free SHS. Let's look at it in that perspective. I've heard this government who argue that, but for free SHS, over 100,000 students wouldn't have had access to secondary education.
And that's true.
And you journalists don't even question that. When you make that argument, you are assuming, but for free SHS, no one was going to secondary school. I mean, it's the most unintelligent way of analyzing it. And interestingly, you journalists, some of you, hold on. Okay. Some of you are very smart guys, to be very honest with you. You don't even question that. Because if you tell me, we now have 100,000 students in secondary school, for example, and I say that, but for free SHS, 100,000 students would have been denied access to education. I am assuming that without free SHS, nobody was in secondary school. What you need to do, in 2016, when we didn't implement free SHS, how many students were in secondary school? Of course, the numbers have increased. Now, how many students are in secondary school now? Even with that, you'll be wrong, because every year, the number of students who go to secondary school increases every year. So even if I want to be charitable, let's say that, okay, 2016, without free SHS, we had 90,000 students in secondary school. 2017, with free SHS, we have 110,000 students. So you can say, without free SHS, 20,000 students wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to school. But they just say, without free SHS, 100,000 students wouldn't have been in school.
So would you have been comfortable?
You people don't ask that question.
So what I want to ask is, would you have been comfortable if your ward was, you couldn't afford your child, to gain access to secondary school education? Would you have been okay for us to look at time to be spent to build infrastructure before your ward gets a chance to go to school?
Would it have been better that even with that, the free school uniforms scrap, even with that free textbooks scraps, even with that free sandals for deprived?
So would that be okay for you?
I'm saying that. Yeah. You see, when you want to look at it that
let's look at the people, the beneficiaries, and let's see how this has helped them, at this point in time.
The example I just gave, I'm not talking about other people, I'm talking about other beneficiaries. There were some also who benefited from the free sandals, even though this government mocked it. There were some who benefited from the free uniform, this government mocked it. They are no longer benefiting from the free sandals. They are no longer benefiting from the free.
But the cost of the sandals as compared to the cost of education?
It's huge. To someone, it's very huge.
So are you saying that the sandals will cost more than education?
No, and I'm coming even to that. Now, what use is it when you don't even have textbooks? The books that you have to use to read, to learn, to be able to pass. The purpose for the free SHS is not just to have mass, students getting, having secondary school education, but to increase the quality and build the human resource base of this country. Now, what use is it to us when the quality is going down, when the human resource base of this nation, which should be the focus, is not even being achieved? So, if you ask me, it's like a double-edged sword. Look, the free SHS is good, but what we simply are saying, and don't take the NDC's position, take the position of the neutrals, those who were the expert. There was no single expert in the field of education who supported the implementation of it at that time. No single expert. As a matter of fact, you had people in government currently who had positions that were adherent to the position taken by the president. In fact, the president's nephew, or was it the cousin, the Minister of Finance, the most intelligent Minister of Finance, the only Minister of Finance who can serve in this country. Even when he was away, the Minister of Finance was waiting for him because he has Oforiatta attached to his name. So he ought to be made the Minister of Finance. Even he himself publicly spoke against the free SHS and how it was implemented. So don't take the word of the NDC. One thing I've observed...
So is the NDC's position to scrap this? Assuming NDC comes into
power, it can. What the NDC... Look,
so how would the NDC be of support?
We even started implementing the progressive free education. And there are evidences to that. We even started implementing the progressive free education. Our focus was that we don't have infrastructure. If you want to make it free, the numbers are going to increase. Where are they going to be seated for studies? Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, if you want to make it free, then you need more teachers, more trained teachers. So what President Mohammed and the NDC did was that, okay, before we make it free, conscious of the fact that the numbers will increase, and we wouldn't want students to be sitting under trees, and also this traffic light system, let's expand the structures first. And it was going to take us maximum 2 years to have all these 200 days secondary schools completed. So let's do that. Let's also remove the teacher trainee allowances. And we'll get to the history of it. Now, this government saw it as an opportunity. We are restoring teacher trainee allowances. We are restoring nursing trainee allowances. But
the MPP had been talking about free SHS for quite a while.
When they even asked him how he was going to implement it, in his infamous interview, was it BBC or Al Jazeera? He didn't even know. So I'm saying that it's not just the MPP, the Constitution of Ghana, the 1992 Constitution, the Constitution which was boycotted.
But wasn't the MPP opening up this opportunity for more teachers to be able to also be part of this? I'm saying the Constitution which was boycotted by the MPP, and it's not the first time. In fact, they voted against the motion of destiny. Even the independence of this country, the MPP should not be celebrating it. They were against the independence. They voted against the motion of destiny in Parliament. This constitution, they felt that it was the Conservative Assembly was made up of farmers, teachers, and they are the three-piece suit peace people, and therefore they boycotted the constitution. The constitution itself says that education should be made free, and every government successfully is implementing, and that's why we had the F-Cube. So what were we waiting for all this time?
I'm saying that's why we had the F-Cube.
Yes.
You need to do it progressively. So in order to achieve that, President Mohammed says, look, let's expand infrastructure. Some were even saying that the free SHS who were going to occupy them, this was how visionless they were. So you expand the infrastructure, even if it means taking 2 years. Build more secondary schools, expand the infrastructure. The third year, you start implementing it so that you wouldn't have students who will go home and others will come home. And two, we need more qualified trained teachers. Now, if we have the allowances serves as inselbeg on government with regards to the number of students who will be admitted into teacher training colleges. So let's take away the allowances so that we can have room to engage more teachers.
So did the NDC communicate to Ghanaians that, look, we want to make SHS free in the next 5 years?
In fact,
as part of that, October, we are going to expand the infrastructure first. So Ghanaians would understand that there's a certain process that this is going to...
somewhere in October 2016, President Mohammed even stated and even gave examples. I can Google it. I can get it, a specific date for you, that education is going to be, is progressively free, and we are starting with the progressive free SHS. President Mohammed stated it. And in fact, there were evidences of that. That's why we started by day students not paying. And then you had boarding students who they were all in the name of making it free. President Mohammed had started that. But the question is, everybody supports free SHS. The Constitution itself enjoins us to support free SHS. Have you gone through the 40-year development plan?
Not yet.
Yes, I participated in the drafting of the 40-year development plan as the representative of the Minister of Trade. I can tell you, it is the most comprehensive and outstanding development plan we ever had. Interestingly, when Dr. Nimoy Thompson, who was the lead team to draft the development plan, in February 2017, you know, when they finished, NDC lost elections, when they presented, and I remember I watched the president on TV, Dr. Nimoy Thompson and the team met the president at the Flagstaff House, and they presented a copy of the 40-year development plan to him. You know what the president said? That, and I'm going to paraphrase him, I have never seen a comprehensive, well thought through national development plan such as this. Because I believe that the president would have gone through. These were the words of the president. The moment they left the Flagstaff House, he threw it in the next dustbin. In the
you see that?
Oh, but if he didn't throw it, why is it? It's ramshackled. They are not even talking about it. This was what he said. He threw it. I believe there is a dustbin just in the under the table of the president. Because that's what he did. So if you read the National Development Plan, free education is captured. And President Mohammed started implementing the progressive free education. Several speeches and actions were actually taken with regards to that. Now, what use will it be to just implement it without this? And I'm saying they were leading members of this government, including his all-time best minister, who has performed a disaster. He himself openly, publicly spoke against the implementation. In fact, there were other founding members of the MPP who said, look, it is a very good idea, but the implementation, we should be very careful. So that is the point. The NDC was conscious of some of these challenges. And that's why I asked a simple question. What use will it be that when you implement a free SHS, you would have known that because it is free, or it is going to be free, more and more students will now go to school. Is that not the case? It's simple. It's a simple logic. Now, if the more and more students go to school, why are they going to be sitting? If more and more students go to school, do you need more teachers to take care of them, or you just want to make it free? This is how visionless this president and this government is. They ought to have known. And with the vision President Mohammed had, he said, look, let's put up expand the infrastructure. Let's build more schools. Let's open up the access to teacher training colleges by removing this little money that we give to teacher trainees, so that more and more students would now have admission into the teacher training colleges, with the objective that if you have more trained teachers, they can take care of the numbers that are going to be enrolled in the senior high school. This is how vision is. This is how well thought through policy implementations are. And they said no. Even against the position of some of his cabinet ministers, he wanted to satisfy his uncontrollable ego. I have to implement it. Here we are.
So, I mean, we at the end of the day, every different party would have its approach to how they would want to implement, you know, some of.
But the approach should be rational.
So let's just assume that there is a point. I mean, this is an opinion. So
no, it's not an opinion. It's a fact. So what I have stated, is it not a fact that when you make if people are paying for something and you make it free, and it is a necessity. So
how was the NDC supporting?
I'm saying that.
I mean, both parties have.
No, I just want to say that this is not an opinion. It's a fact.
Okay.
And I am asking you.
Yes.
If all of us.
I'll be doing the asking the question.
So no, I'm saying that if something is you can only get it by paying, and it's a necessity. You need it. Everybody needs education. And then now someone wants to say no, it's going to be free. You are no longer going to pay to have access to education. Those who couldn't have access because they didn't have the money, and they also desperately needed, they would want to come. So they ought to have known that when we make it free, then more students will now be be wanting to have, you know, secondary education.
Didn't also this mean that people needed education? People were asking for education. And maybe the time frame that the NDC had to work this out was also going to be a problem for the people because people couldn't afford to do that.
A lot of trained journalists want to work with multimedia, but they're not here. Some have applied.
A lot of trained journalists,
yes. Some have applied. Oh, but in this country, we have some who are also not trained.
A lot of students who finished private education are waiting.
Good, even university. So I'm saying that if you want us to take the argument that way, there are a lot of questions people would ask. But I'm saying that nobody was saying that we won't have it free. That is why we're saying that for you to have it free, forget of the NDC's position. Take the position and the advice of the experts that yes, if you want to have it free, more and more students will want to come to have access to secondary education. Where are they going to be seated? And I can tell you, the condition under which a student is taught or a student learns is sine qua non to the success of the student. That is a fact. The condition. Check students who are in deprived schools, where they don't have teachers, where they sit under trees. Compare them with students in the elite schools where they have quality teachers, where they have, you know, roofs over their heads, where the conditions, they always do better. So that is the point. So if you wanted to make it free against the advice of the experts, why would you do that? You ought to have known that more and more people will gain admission. So what you do first is that within 2 years, expand the infrastructure. And that is why President Mohammed did something unprecedented. Let's build day senior high, 200. We even got some support from the World Bank. The World Bank also agreed with us. Let's expand it within 2 years. Some of them were at different stages of completion. So where our expectation was that, at least in 2017, the president, and considering the fact that President Mohammed left 3 oil wells, under President Mohammed we had 1. We discovered 2 additional oil wells. And part of that money is also taken for free SHS. 3 oil wells. You could have decided that we are using this percentage to finish the incomplete projects of the free SHS. They didn't do that. A lot of them were abandoned. They were left. Now they hurriedly are going back to complete them at a higher cost. Because knowing that once you delay a project, and you know prices of cost of production increases day by day, that is what happens. So our expectation was that within 2017, they would have taken their time, finish the buildings and have it free.
The NDC started building these e-blocks to expand infrastructure. The NPP came in and implemented for the students to now start getting to school. The NPP has gone, I don't want to say back, but the NPP is continuing that legacy of expanding and finishing these projects. What is the NDC's position now on free SHS?
It's a good idea. I don't know how many times I
know you've said that already.
I'm saying that our position is that, in fact, long before Nanado started, President Mohammed started implementing free SHS. And that is a fact. And our position is that, look, inshallah, we'll win the 2024 election. This one, we won it. The family relation of Rebecca robbed the elections for President Nanado, and that is a fact. Yes, it's true.
These are not our views, but this is.
It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says. As far as I'm concerned, NDC won the elections.
But it was the same thing with the NPP when they also went into.
They had the right to say what they want to say. I don't know. What is this fear? You see the fear you guys are, and the NDC, you wouldn't have done this. Because they traumatize everybody, including you people.
No, but
you cannot even make a fair and
what is wrong biased on any side. What you're saying is that the NPP also went to court.
No, but why are you saying that this is not the statement of this station? What is? There's nothing wrong with this statement. So why are you distancing yourself from that statement? I'm not saying you are being biased. You are just scared.
No.
Because the media is so scared today. Everybody is scared.
No, nobody is scared.
That is the point. In a democracy, the NDC won the elections. It doesn't matter what the court says. As far as I am concerned, we won the elections.
But isn't that the same thing the NPP also said?
Well, they had the right to say what I'm saying. I can't prevent them from.
Well, the EC is constitutionally mandated to actually, declare the winner of the election.
If you have Rebecca,
I'm very sure it was the same situation when NPP also went to court. They had issues with all the pink sheets and all. It was the same thing.
If you have Rebecca, at least in that court, the electoral commissioner was allowed to be scrutinized. This woman is a gold, a jewelry. No one should ask her any question. I'm saying that if you appoint Rebecca's family, the first lady's family, I remember when I said this, Kweku Baku sat on Metro TV and said that wasn't true. This country, Akufo-Addo has spoken. When he knew he was lying, he knew that he was lying. Akufo-Addo said, oh, it's not true. They are not family relations. Koku should be looking for me and apologizing to me. When he said that none of you, no journalist in this country, no journalist, this is a public knowledge that Rebecca and Jean Mensa were a family relation. I said it, I remember, on Newsfile. When I said Akufo-Addo went to Metro TV and said it's not true, came to Newsfile and said, oh, it's not true. And none of you could even do your basic investigation. You allowed that because Akufo-Addo has spoken when he knew he was lying through his state. So I'm saying that you have him, you have Bossman Asari, who happened to be my lecturer. Bossman was about my 2 years senior when I was in the psychology department, he was in the political science department. And Bossman, I knew him to be an MPP guy at that time. And when I came to the Department of Political Science, he was my lecturer. And I've said that he is an outstanding lecturer, but a disastrous, EC deputy. He became TESCON, a patron. And you had 2 MPP activists supervising elections. Why wouldn't we have the robbery in the elections that we had? So when we say this, we are saying it with evidences. You can't tell me that they can't be biased towards the MPP because of where they are coming from. More so when they were denying the fact that they have family relations, except that they were exposed in court that they were family relations. So the point I'm simply making is that the NDC had all these plans. We had a vision, and the vision was in motion. We're implementing them. Why do you rush to implement a policy against the advice of all aspects? Why will you do that? Don't you have editorial board here? You have editorial board, is that not it? Even the editor of your station, the fact that he's the editor, he doesn't just say, this is what I want to do. He sits with the editorial board so that everybody will examine. You have a president who rules us like a king. Whatever he wants is written with. Is what everybody must agree. Because no matter how good that policy was, if you had members within your government, expect people who have the expertise, civil society organizations in the field of education, who all said, look, it's a very good program. Don't rush into the implementation. Finish the existing project within 1 year and have it implemented. No. King Nana-Addo wanted to have it implemented so that he can knock his chest and say that I did it.
Let's, in the interest of time, let's move on to the other, let's move away from the free SHS and let's talk about the fuel prices now. Also, your take on, the current... There's a global conversation, but there's also a national conversation too.
Look, spare us this global conversation on fuel. I met my senior, in fact, my teacher, Mohammed Anta, doctor. He taught me, actually, the Deputy Minister for Energy, who, when he was at ESEP, wrote a lot of theses on fuel prices. I met him with Honorable Chairman Zabonsu in the lobby, and I said, oh, Doctor, I still go through your press conferences, your write-ups on fuel prices. What has changed? It is very clear that this government is robbing the people of this country. Ghana is now an exporter, net exporter of fuel. Ghana, net exporter of fuel, or net producer of fuel. We now produce more than we consume. So if fuel prices globally as a result of Ukraine crisis are going up, it means that Ghana as a state we are benefiting. Is that not a fact? Isn't that a fact? No, I'm asking you.
Well, I can't speak to that.
We are now, I'm saying that we are a net producer of fuel. Or is it net exporter of fuel, the economic terms? What it simply means is that we are now producing more than we consume. So if fuel prices are going up globally, Ghana should be the windfall. We are benefiting. So subsidize the prices. So don't come tell us that...
What percentage is government receiving from what we are exporting?
I can tell you, when fuel prices were about a little below $70 per barrel, at that time, when it increased to about $80 per barrel, the windfall was over $300 million for this country. $300 million. Now,
but per calculation, it still wasn't enough to have...
No, it was enough. If you remove the tax buildup, we have been told, and our position was that the reason why we're paying more was not because of this automatic adjustment system. It is because of the tax buildup. The MPP used it. President Nana-Addo, he used those things. Those tax buildup, take them out. And I'm saying that the argument that is being made, that because of Ukraine, Russia, that is why in global crude prices about 140, 130, we are paying more. It is a deception, the people of this country. They are robbing you.
But how is it deception?
It's a deception because we are now a net producer of fuel.
But how much are we benefiting from the fuel?
Well, even if we, for example...
And I'm told that, I mean, we part of the fund also goes to the free SHS.
Oh, but how much?
What? I mean, government has spent about 7-point-something billion cedi so far.
So work it out in dollars. That is peanuts. How millions of dollars are we making? So if you are now telling me because of crude oil prices are going up, and therefore Ghanaians must pay, listen to some of the local radio stations. That is a deception. Oh, the reason why government is increasing it because, you know, Russia meanwhile, tell the people of this country that under President Nana, President Akufo, and President Mills and President Mahama, we had one oil well. President Mohammed discovered additional 2 for you, 3. We are now producing over 200,000 barrels. Now you now are making more money. Even if you, for example, if you are making $100 million on one well, and now you are having 3 wells and you are producing more, you start to make about $300 million or more. So when fuel prices are going up as a result of Russia-Ukraine war, the windfall, the profit that comes, use it to subsidize. Well, that is what other countries are doing. Nigeria is doing that. They are doing that. So this business of crude oil prices are going up and therefore Ghanaians must pay more is absolute balderdash. And that is what this government is doing. I wish I had more time for us to wrap up this conversation, but please pardon me on this. We have other subjects to discuss. As well. Yes, I have to bring our conversations to a close because my time is up. How much was a gallon of petrol and the NDC? Can't recall, but I mean currently we're looking at about 9 cedi 70 pesos. So you see, and then they said President Mahama was incompetent. Well, so these are the if I can say the surface conversations, but I'm sure we drill down in there. There are lots of things that we have to look at. But I really appreciate it for joining me this morning as well on the show. Honorable Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, he's MP for Tamale Central. He's been my guest this morning, doing a quick review on some of the happenings in our economy as well. We promise to have him back in the studio again for us to have an extended conversation on the other areas. Thank you so much. We have more to come on the show. Sit back, relax, and don't go away.